Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, Marco Rubio telling it like it is on the floor of the Senate yesterday. And joining us now is Israeli Ambassador Ido Aharoni, the Consul General of Israel in New York. Welcome back, sir. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, yesterday Israel decided to pursue the ground incursion into the Gaza Strip. Was there a straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak? Was there a tipping point, one incident that spurred this, or was this an eventuality that really had to occur eventually?
Well, there are two parts to my answer. The first is yes, and the straw was the rejection of the ceasefire proposed by the Egyptians that enjoyed the support of the Arab League. This should be mentioned. That Israel immediately accepted and Hamas declined to accept. That's the first thing. The second is that when you really look at the situational picture, as we say in military language, the biggest problem that we have is that Hamas actually took its entire terrorist infrastructure apparatus and brought it under the ground. So you have to be physically on the ground right there in order to destroy those tunnels. Our viewers have to understand we're dealing with a network of 1,000 tunnels. They're well built, they're deep, they penetrate into Israel's territory. They're being used as storage facility for rockets. Hamas has 12,000 rockets, and we had to endure 1,500 of them in the last 11 days.
And there was the incident where a bunch of Hamas terrorists came out of a tunnel near a kibbutz, and thank God they were taken care of before they were able to do anything, and that was before the incursion. So I don't know if that played a part in the final decision as well, but I mean, for how long can you risk something like that?
Exactly, and as you recall, Steve, when the Israeli cabinet authorized the operation Protective Edge, this was 12 days ago, the cabinet said specifically in their decision that the IDF is given the permission to recruit 40,000 reservists and preparing, and that's what militaries do, not just the Israeli military, to all eventuality. This is one of the scenarios that we prepared to, and I can add to that the Prime Minister said earlier today, Prime Minister Netanyahu said, if needed, we will even expand the current incursion.
Well, I know that more reservists were called up. I think additional 8,000 today, if I'm not mistaken. Doesn't mean they're going in. The president today, well, echoing what he's been saying all along, what the State Department said in even more stringent terms yesterday, they're concerned about civilian casualties. And you heard Marco Rubio say that the civilian casualties are the fault of Hamas. But the president also is calling for a ceasefire, the one that was established in 2012, that both sides go back to that. John Kerry's going to the region. If all of a sudden Hamas says today, tomorrow, the next day, I know it's hypothetical, all right, we agree to that, to go back to the 2012 ceasefire, does that mean Israel will prematurely end what they're doing now, which is, you know, very vital, as you described it, with getting rid of the tunnels? Or would Israel say, not yet, we have to finish our job? Explain that to me.
Well, the way it works is that the Israel Defense Forces gets the instructions from the Israeli cabinet and from Prime Minister Netanyahu. If the defense forces will go back to the cabinet and the Prime Minister and show them the results on the ground of their work, maybe the cabinet will make a different decision. But right now, this is the way the military work. There's a work plan. There is a tactical plan how to get there, and that's what the military is doing. Now, the military says, let us get the job done.
Right. So if there's a political element that in the form of a ceasefire, then it goes to the cabinet and they'll have to decide. So you can't tell me, yes, we would stop, no, we wouldn't stop.
Exactly.
Yeah, and more than likely it would depend on how much of the military mission is accomplished at that time.
Exactly. And of course, the reason why it takes us so long to handle, to take care of that
problem. You're going house to
house,
house, right?
Is because we're, exactly, Steve, because we're trying to minimize collateral damage and loss of innocent lives. And it is perhaps one of the most transparent military operations of late. The fact that we took the time to inform each and every neighborhood, each and every family, days before the incursion, that a military operation is in the planning and that they are encouraged to leave their homes. Unfortunately, Hamas in many of the cases managed to prevent that, managed to make sure that they stay in their homes rather than leave them.
Yeah, and when I talk about the house, a lot of the tunnels, people don't realize as we're talking, the entrance to the tunnels are in residential homes. Are they also, do you believe, in mosques and hospitals where the rockets are?
Of course. Only the other day we had
the UN school, I know.
The UN school had 20 rockets. And for the first time, I think the international press covered this story more or less the way you would expect them to.
Right.
But that's just one tiny example. We're talking about community centers, we're talking about mosques, schools, private homes. And of course, the most disturbing thing is the penetration tunnels, that they go under the ground and then they take a squad of terrorists, they pop out of the tunnel near a military outpost, near a Jewish community, near a town, a school. And as you said, one of those attempts was averted yesterday. It could have been a catastrophe for that particular community.
So the estimated length of this, I heard the Prime Minister the other day, I said it could be 10 days, it could be longer. Is that the estimated time?
It's hard to tell. Again, as I said before, the implementer on the ground is the IDF,
right.
And we'll need to hear from them what progress they made and what's their projection for the future.
And what's the rockets like? The situation is this has it quieted? Is Hamas unable, or is it still?
Not at all.
Okay.
In fact, in the last 48 hours, 100 rockets.
Is that a bad signal on your part that you haven't been able to yet quiet it?
The only thing it says is that you have to use ground forces to put an end to it.
Done.
You have to get it done with troops on the ground. You need to put boots on the ground.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it as always. Okay, Ambassador Ido Aharoni, the Consul General of Israel here in New York, and time will tell. And kudos to Marco Rubio again. We did Give Me Five on his whole speech, or a lot of his speech. It was 20 minutes long, for saying what the President of the United States should say when asked about this, for saying what the State Department should say when asked about this. That civilian deaths in Gaza are the fault of Hamas. We're coming back.